What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dissect That Film, where we dissect your favorite films, film franchises, and TV. Today, on our final installment of Slice of TV, Moon Knight Edition, we're talking about the season finale of said show, Marvel Studios' Moon Knight. Joining me today is one of my friends and a Marvel fanatic, StaticArbiter. Welcome in, sir.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. It feels good. You know, I've been doing this, like I said, I've been doing the show by myself for the last 5 weeks. So it feels good to have somebody to talk to now to talk about the whole show as a whole, but also the end of the season. So yeah, if anybody is their first time watching, we'll go through our thoughts spoiler free. And then once we run out of things to talk about spoiler free, we're going to warn you guys to get out of here if you haven't seen the show yet. Come back when you have, so you can, so we don't spoil anything for anybody. All right. So, Static, what are your thoughts about this final episode of Moon Knight?
General thought number one is I'm glad we got a lot of action compared to a lot of just kind of story building in terms of just discussion with characters. This episode brought Megazords style fights in a way that I think did a very good job of just kind of rounding up this season as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. That was like my biggest fear throughout this whole thing was like, man, they got some really good episodes, and like episode 5 was really good, but it's like there's only one left. How are they gonna squish everything together for one more?
And this morning when I got on to watch it, I looked at the runtime of the last episode and I'm like, this is like 10 minutes shorter than all the other episodes. It's like, I hope we're getting something,
Right?
Because I had the same thought process after episode 5. I'm like, oh boy, okay, let's do this.
I mean, yeah, we got like you said, we got kaiju fights. We literally got. I mean, we'll go into more detail when we get into spoilers, but it's like we got battles, within battles. We got some new looks for certain characters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, to be honest, I'm not disappointed in how it all ended, but I was like, it was like half of what my fear was. It's like I feel there was a lot of like piecing things together, and then it was just like, here it is.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's over, and you're like, wait, what?
6 weeks later, I'm just like, yeah.
That's the problem with Marvel, with the Marvel shows, is I feel they're sticking to this 6 episode stretch, and it's just not enough. And the writers are trying to give us too much, farther down the line. And it's like, man, we started off real strong. Like episode 1 was, I thought, a really strong episode. And then it kind of was, we got, and then episode 2, we're meeting some new characters. We're getting the relationship between Mark and Steven in a way. And then it was like 4 and 5, as good as they were, because I think Marvel does a great job with usually with their 4th episode of shows. It was they're really good episodes, but it's like, but you gave me all that, but you're expecting me to turn around and be like, how the hell are you going to finish this off with 1 episode left?
Oh,
it just wasn't enough for me.
Yeah, especially I think it was episode 5. We got a lot of feels between Mark and Steven, and I'm just like, this is great. This is a giant relationship building between the two of them. But I can count on one hand the amount of times I've seen the Moon Knight costume and fight scenes. And it's like,
yeah,
how is that going to be done in episode 6?
Right.
As the season finale is what they're calling it. So,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Moon Knight, and then of course Mark and Steven. And then of course if you're an avid comic reader and the Moon Knight series before the show, there's another personality or another part of that of his identity, that you kind of only get hints of throughout the show, and then at the end, it's like, here you go, here's this little bit. Okay, see you later, guys, and you're like, what?
I will say though, with what they're doing with Moon Knight, even with going back to Shang-Chi and what's coming out with She-Hulk, and these are characters that I don't know too much about, but once the show started going, I'm looking into things. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. This is how this character played in with like this group
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So it piques my interest learning more about these characters, the backgrounds and whatnot. So it's cool that they are doing these
right,
characters for their phase 4.
right. That they're taking characters that are just kind of, they're not those, they're not the Iron Mans or the Captain
Mm-mm.
Americas of the comic book world. These are, I mean, I don't want to put them in like a lower class, but they're not as well known
Right.
unless you are a huge Marvel fan who is, who instead of just being a Marvel fan who watches the movies,
Yeah.
you've been reading the comics since, whenever
Oh yeah.
I don't know when Moon Knight came out, but those are the ones that are like nitpicking at this show because they know so much of its history. My
And they've
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that, and they've been reading this stuff for years.
Right,
I mean, we're
exactly.
talking his first appearance was in 1975
It's a lot.
in the comics.
It's a lot of history.
Just quick peek Google search, late 70s, early 80s, and it's just like some of these. I used to have a godfather. Well, not used to. He's still my godfather. Um, I remember going to his house, and he had a room full of comics, and I'm like, I wish I would have taken the time to now sit and read. And we're talking mid to late 90s
Right,
when this was. So, but it's just amazing what Marvel has at their disposal.
exactly.
And Kevin Feige's already said, "Hey, we got the next 10 years
Oh, yeah.
planned out."
I mean,
So,
I read something that he, like, goes on a retreat with a bunch of people
oh, I
from
believe it.
Marvel, and they literally plan out, like, years in advance of what they plan, on content. I mean, eh, Kevin Feige clearly cares about Marvel. I mean,
Oh, 100%.
when you look at where Marvel is right now, and then you go over to the DC side and you just see, like, what's going on over there, and you're like, "Why can't we have that same care?"
Yeah, I feel the exact same way.
You have the
It
care.
seems
So Marvel,
it
like, for me, the Marvel, like, they write comics that are fantastic,
mhm.
and they also create, yeah, there's some stinkers in Marvel, but most of them are really good. The shows have been, either good or great. DC, it's like they still do really well with their comics, but it's like, man, why can't they just give
Mhm.
us, I mean, the Batman, for me, I thought the Batman was great, but a lot of people don't think it was very good, but that's I'm okay with that direction for where DC. I just wish there was that same care for DC as Marvel. Clearly Kevin Feige cares so much about this that he's not just doing these things. I mean, he knows they're going to make insane amount of money, but he also,
Absolutely.
I feel he really cares about the stuff that he puts out there.
I will say
My
though,
Oh, go ahead.
Rob Pattinson as Batman I underestimate it. That's all I'm gonna say. He I
As well.
but it seems that Marvel and Kevin Feige especially, it's like he's moving this train forward.
Right,
Whereas DC, it's like, all right, we're gonna do this. Then we're gonna take Batman again, and we're gonna do it over again with somebody else.
right.
You know,
They literally can't figure it out. Like, Batman is
right?
just such is their number one, where they're like, well, I guess that's the only thing that's really working right now. I mean, look at the Flash. Look at the movie that's coming out. Like, I mean, other than the troubles with the main actor, look
Yeah.
at look at what they have to do to kind of like break. Because I can guarantee not a lot of people are super intrigued to be like, hey man, it's a Flash movie. They're like, no, we're gonna do a Flashpoint Paradox movie where Batman will be there, and you're like, of course Batman's gonna be there because
Of
people
course
are
he's
gonna go
gonna.
see it, dude. When you're thinking of the Flash movie and you find out Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman, why are you going to see that movie? I want to go see Michael Keaton as Batman again. I don't
Oh
care
yeah.
about the Flash.
More people are into the show Flash than the movie Flash.
Right.
as far as I can see. But yeah, it's Marvel's doing things for the
They're
most part correctly.
they're doing it right. They're doing it right.
Yeah.
Back to Moon Knight though. My biggest draw in because I read comics when I was a kid. I read a lot of Spider-Man. I was a huge Batman fan. Those were kind of like my go-tos when it came to Marvel and DC. When I read about Moon Knight, a lot of people would compare Moon Knight to Batman. They're like, "Oh, Moon Knight is very much Marvel's version of Batman." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Watching this show, I never got that feel at all. It just didn't feel that way.
One, because Moon Knight's not rich.
Right.
But no, in same aspect, I mean, having Khonshu around so much, it really, to me, it's hard to compare Batman and Moon Knight.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of just reading certain things and,
Yeah.
seeing things on Twitter and it was, oh man, Marvel's finally putting out their version of Batman. And we're like, well, I mean, you say a version of Batman, I'm in. Like, give it to me. I mean, I was hooked in when they announced Oscar Isaac was going to be in it because he's
Oh, 100%.
amazing.
Oh, yes.
And also Ethan Hawke, fantastic as well. But I remember just watching the show and just like every time be like, this, like, I don't want to compare it to Batman because it doesn't deserve to be. I mean, it doesn't. I feel like it's just you're putting it on a lower level because comparing something to Batman when Batman is probably one of the greatest comic book characters
Mhm.
ever written. I feel it's just not right to compare the two. But I was watching it like there is no comparison at all to this character in Batman. So I'm just gonna enjoy it for what it was. Um, yeah, I mean, I still had fun with the show. Of course, as somebody who has watched a lot of TV through his life, I never go into any season finales or series finales with high expectations. I've been disappointed so many times in my life. It's like, you know what? If they can just somewhat land the plane, even if it's with two tires, even if no one gets hurt on that landing, I'm okay. I'm not gonna be super disappointed.
As long as everyone walks away okay, we'll be
Exactly.
good.
Um, yeah, I mean the performances, really loved him. I think Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke were great, opposite each other.
Mhm.
I really loved I keep forgetting what her name is, the actress who
I
plays
was just gonna look her name up.
May Kalamaway is the one who played Layla. I probably
I
mispronounced her
liked her.
name. I thought she was really good. I mean, to be honest, I feel most of the main characters that you see throughout the show did a really good job.
Mhm.
Um, even the ones that just did voice performances. You had Conchu. He was a hit or miss for me. His voice kind of threw me off with this character. I feel like it should have been a little bit same with Towerette. Towerette, I think.
Oh, she was adorable.
She was funny. I mean,
She
she
was
was
funny,
definitely
yeah.
that, her and Steven, Steven was definitely the comedy relief, just the way he
Mhm.
acted and stuff like that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
adding her into and then having her kind of not fully understand her job. You're like, you've been a god for a millennia. And it's like, I don't
Oh,
know if
yeah.
that's how this works. And you're like, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
You're a god. Oh man, but like as I got through the show, I just kind of grew to admire the voice cast. I think F. Murray Abraham, who does the voice of Khonshu, he's a legendary actor. He's been
Mhm.
doing it for 50, 60 plus years. His voice is very menacing and very like, you hear that voice and you're like, all right, we probably should listen to this guy. He's kind of scary.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the first thing I thought of too when, like, you first see Khonshu essentially, like, chasing Steven down the hallways, and
Oh
he's in the storage unit. I'm like, "Okay, I need to hear this. I need to hear this guy talk because he's making
yeah.
himself known." And I'm like, "Are they going, like, a horror direction with this? What are
And
you
I
know?"
wish they
But
just kept
then
going with that.
oh, yeah. Then
But
hearing him talk and whatnot.
yeah, I was very disappointed because like that scene specifically. I mean, we saw that in the trailer,
Mhm.
but even when you see it in the show, you're like, wow, that is creepy as hell.
Oh, yeah.
And then for the rest of the show, you're like, okay, it's just. I mean, you see him so much that it doesn't give off that vibe anymore. And I wish that was how they used Khonshu instead of him always being around and always being, this he's at full light. Like, if he was
Oh
just
yeah.
always in the shadows and just kind of that really where is he type deal throughout, I think that would have been a better tone than what we got. But
I also felt like he was going to start turning more into, especially as the conversations grew between Khonshu and Mark and Steven as one. I'm like, are they going to make Khonshu more like a comedian as we go
right.
down the line here? Because that's the more you saw him and the more the things were building up. I forget, what was it, episode 3? When they're turning the stars
Yeah, it was like it
and
was
all this,
yeah,
3 or
3.
4.
Yeah.
And you really start seeing him, but I was hoping they wouldn't turn him into a comic relief because that's what Steven is.
Right. I mean, these are gods. These are literally,
Mhm.
beings that have been around for, thousands upon thousands of
Yep.
years. They should just, I think, the way that they portrayed when the gods would take over their avatars during like the
Like
meetings
Osiris and
in the
all them,
yeah,
yep.
like that's how they all should be. They're very stoic. They're very, they don't stray off into humor or anything. They're very
Yep.
serious on what they do because they've been, it's what they've been doing for so long. With like Towerette, like I guess she's like because of her job, she has to have that sort of sense of humor to try to, make people, keep people at peace as she's transporting them to the either to the afterlife or having to throw them overboard.
And all she had to do was say hi
Yeah.
at the end of that episode. She's like, "Hi." I'm like, "Oh, okay, she's not gonna be serious at all."
No, no.
And there's more to talk about once we get into the spoiler part with her, and
Oh yes.
that's
Oh
oh,
yes. Ethan Hawke, his character was menacing. He was scary because just the way he always put himself out there. There was never aggression
nope.
or anything. He would just, he did what he believed he had to do, even though
Mhm.
he knew that he um, didn't really deserve the power that he was given because of what he had done in his prior life. And I mean, Ethan Hawke's been doing has been doing this for a long time. He's just so good at just being any type of emotion throughout the spectrum. Just
I think he was a good pick for Harrow.
yeah. And the way that he puts himself out there in this final episode was just like a great finish. Unfortunately, his end is kind of as most ends are to villains in Marvel, anticlimactic. To be honest, it's kind of just like, oh, it's over. You're like,
Yeah.
oh,
I
okay.
have concerns with that part.
But overall, the show is definitely a fun watch. It's definitely not one of my favorite Marvel shows. Uh, I feel with it being a newer character and trying to get people on board with it, with the actors they got and the story they're trying to tell, I'm very interested to see if there's going to be a season 2 because I think there should be because just the way that the tone was here, I feel like you just can't end it like that. Like it
No,
just sucks.
I would be a little upset if this is where they decided to stop, because it's
Yeah.
like you have more, you have a little more explaining to do.
Yeah.
So I really do hope there is a second. Just give us a second season.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for like 3, 4, 5. I'll just take a second.
I'm down
And
for
also
that too.
going back a little bit with, just bringing these new actors in. I feel it was easier for a show like Falcon Winter Soldier because you already had those established characters with
Yep.
Bucky and Falcon and all that. So it probably wasn't as difficult to try and build up something with them as it is for Moon Knight.
Right.
Probably will be for She-Hulk. A lot of these characters that nobody really knows.
Exactly.
And I think this first season overall was a good starting point for Moon Knight, for Oscar Isaac's character, for Layla. And hopefully they can get all of that intertwined into bigger MCU productions down the road.
Yeah. I hope they get more more money for the visual effects too, because the visual effects in the show were very hit and miss.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest gripes was just the way the suit looked. Like, the suit was cool when it was, like, there wasn't action, when it's an actual physical suit, like, when it's
Yeah.
actually Oscar Isaac in the suit, it looked good because it's a real suit, but, like, the
Mhm.
CG was kinda rough. It just didn't flow right, and just, like, when he changes from Mark or Steven into Steven turns into Mr. Knight, which is
Mr.
the
Knight, yep.
best is a better suit, to be honest. I love that
Mhm.
suit. It's so cool.
Oh, absolutely. I
But when
still am
he
trying to understand the line he's got,
Yeah, I don't
the Mr. Knight.
yeah. Maybe to
That
try
part I'm
to
still trying to
make
figure
it
out.
make it a little bit because it's literally a white Deadpool.
It is. It is.
It's exactly what it is. So they're like, "We'll just put this here to kind of, maybe it'll throw people off." It's like, "No, it's
Mhm.
Deadpool's
Oh, yeah.
mask." But, when he changes from Mark into Moon Knight, it just looks really bad, to be honest. The CG just doesn't flow right, and,
Mhm.
I mean, it's kinda been throughout this entire series where the visual effects were kind of not great, especially for Marvel. I understand it's a
Yeah.
show, they don't get the budget that the movies do,
Wonder
but, I mean, some of them were kinda laughable.
wonder if it's public knowledge how much each episode cost,
I mean, I know
or the series in general.
I mean, I feel like they got it, right? I mean, I've read some stuff on shows that are coming out, like
Uh,
the new Lord of the Rings show,
does not offer any budgetary updates on Loki, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk, but those series will cost at least 10 million per episode.
which is not a lot if you think about it. I mean, that's
Oh, well, yeah.
6 hours worth of
Mhm.
there's 6 hours, so $60 million for 6 hours. That's not a lot when you think of the budgets that the movies get. Those movies are getting 200 to $250 million.
Big bucks.
Yeah, because they know they can make that money back. So they
Absolutely,
can
in a
drop
heartbeat,
that.
yeah.
But, yeah, yeah, the visual effects, I mean, I've been talking about it every week. I mean, sometimes they look good and sometimes not so much. So, but
There's
hey.
room for improvement.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, I feel we've talked non-spoilers long enough. So, we're going to hop into some spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the season finale of Moon Knight, yes, I'm going to call it season finale because we're hoping for a season 2. Make sure to go watch it and then come back and pick up where you left off and listen to us spoil the hell out of this. All right. So, see you later. Get out of here. Get out of here and then
Bye-bye.
come back. All right. All right, here we go. All right. Static, give me your thoughts on this episode, but with spoilers.
I wanted to see how Jake beat up Harrow. First
Why
thing.
did we get
I mean, at this point in the show, a lot of us who are into it and know what these characters are. Like, we know there's Mark, there's Steven, and there's Jake. And
right,
we know from previous episodes that there have been instances where Jake has made an appearance.
right,
And even going back to earlier episodes, it's like, oh, now it's filling out that Jake's. I wanted to see how Jake, because all of us, it's like you saw Harrow have his staff stuck down on Mark's chest.
yeah,
And then click, bam, Harrow's on his back, people are dead.
yeah, yep. I mean, that's kind of how Jake has played out this entire series. It's, you know, as somebody who read up on Moon Knight before the show, and you find out that there's 3
Mm-hmm.
identities. Um, every time they would blank out, and then something really like
Yep.
violent happened. It wasn't, clearly, Mark is a violent guy, but he's a soldier.
Yep.
He's somebody who has a little bit of a moral compass on
Right.
killing. Steven definitely isn't that guy. He's just a regular dude who just got kind of thrown into this. But when you
Little
see,
museum.
yeah, just a little museum gift shop
Yeah,
guy,
that's it. That's it.
where when you first see that happen I mean, you see it happen in episode 1.
when he's in whatever country it is.
Yeah, I can't remember, but he's driving the truck down
Yep,
the
exactly.
mountain, and he kept going in and out, but which in the beginning, you're like, is he changing in and out of Mark? But you notice that, it'd be Steven and he would black out and then he would wake up and be back to being Steven again. Where if you notice in the show, when he changes from Steven to Mark, you physically see that happen.
Yep.
So seeing him kind of change and then come back and then he's back to being the same person, it's that third person. Um, but I just kind of disappointing that we didn't get him earlier in the episode. It was like, here's a little bit of him, and then see you later, guys.
Bye bye. Take care now.
We'll see in like a few years if we decide to do an episode or a season 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, you bastards.
I'm like every episode I was watching. I'm like, okay, especially when you see that third sarcophagus when they're down
Yeah.
and right before they meet Towet, it's like,
Yep.
just go open it. We know it's Jake. Let's just get this out of the way now.
Yep.
But I do understand the other side of the coin because they've built such a relationship with Mark and Steven. It's like, do they throw Jake in and toss that up? But it's like, I wish I just would have seen him beat up Harrow.
Yeah.
And what does Jake even turn into?
I know.
Like you see Steven become Mr. Knight with his regular nice Deadpool suit, all
Yep.
that. You see the regular Moon Knight, what's it called, the ceremonial armor for
Yep.
Mark.
Yep.
What happens with Jake?
I don't know. But
Something serious
I want to
if he could
see
get
it,
out of
damn
that.
it.
I know. Oh
Oh.
man.
Layla becoming Towerette's avatar in her freaking suit was awesome.
Scarlet Scarab.
So cool. Uh,
Oh. Also Towet talking to Layla through dead people was kind of funny.
yeah, it was. Oh, but it's just like that interaction. It's like, how are like this is weird. It's like, yeah, I know. I'm talking. I'm talking you through
How
dead
did
people. How weird is that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And how did Layla not get caught when she was sneaking around with like Harrow's crew?
Right?
After you see Harrow, like the beginning of the episode, you see Harrow take uh the Amit little, I forget what they're called, little statue
Yep.
out of Mark's pocket, and Harrow knows that Layla's there because you see Layla take a dude out, and the dude makes a noise.
Yeah.
All right, so it's like I think Harrow at that point's like, oh, I don't care, I got what I want. I got Amit, which I want his cane now that it changed.
Yeah, that cane was really cool. I mean, I liked his cane before the two crocodile
Yeah,
heads where he would use it to
but
judge
now it's
people.
just like it's one crocodile head and then an axe on the other side
Oh,
of it.
it's
I'm like, that
super
looks
cool.
cool. That looks cool.
Love the purple,
Mm-hmm.
the colors, and I think Amit was kind of a letdown for me. She just didn't seem as menacing as I was expecting for, Harrow was talking her up. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I
I
liked
thought
her
she
design.
looked good. Yeah, she looked
Yeah,
good. She
her
looked
design was
good.
great.
Um, I love the kaiju fight between her and Conchu. I love how they just
Oh
become
my gosh, that was amazing.
giants. Does anyone see this? Does anyone see it other than like Harrow and Mark? Like, are they the only ones who could see it?
I think at that point only Mark can see it, only Harrow, and I think Layla can see it too.
Right, because she's an avatar
And even
or a
before
god.
that, when oh god, Conchu was talking to her,
Right. Yeah, that's
like when she released him,
yeah.
I think it was at that point that she was able to see all of what was going on. But that was I enjoyed that battle of the gods between the
Yeah.
two of them, while Harrow and Moon Knight were fighting each other, and
Right.
Layla as well.
Very cool. Very cool. The fight choreography was fantastic. Um but yeah, I think we were talking about it in the non-spoilers about how like we don't get a lot of Moon Knight in this show.
Hmm.
Not I mean, there is literally, I think, 2 episodes where you don't see him at all.
I think it was 4 and 5
Yeah.
even.
And then in 1, you don't see him until the end.
Yep.
And if that's
Which
only like a 10-second clip, which that was I liked how they in
Oh
that
yeah.
episode because, I don't need to see him right away. I mean, I
No.
get that's the name of the show, but you're giving me a story, you're giving me the reasonings behind, why he exists, um, and, you're trying to piece things together, and the fact that you only see him for that split second at the end, I was happy with,
Mhm.
but there was some other episodes where you don't see him at all, and it's just like, "Alright, we're getting close to the end. Can we get some Moon Knight here?"
Yeah.
And
We
even
get
in
some
this
action.
episode I mean, you don't get him for a bit. You don't get him until, Mark is, you know, brought back to life, and I really enjoyed the fact that now that Mark and Steven have a good relationship with each other, they don't have
Mhm.
to go through the phasing. You notice that? Like, they actually, like.
Oh, and it's especially with the conversation, like, once they're back and it's the conversation with Conchu, they're just going back and forth like it's nothing.
Yeah,
It's a smooth conversation, they're switched between Mark and Steven.
right. Where it's like they don't have to go through that, like, where their eyes go white and they, like,
Yep.
you know,
Then you get this camera
pass out.
shaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how it's just kind of fluent now that they're kind of
Mhm.
on the same page. Oh, yeah, so good.
Oh, yeah. No,
That whole
I enjoyed
conversation.
that. And I'll tell you what, Steven can fight.
Well, yeah, because he figured out that he's not real,
He figured it
so
out. Yeah,
he's
exactly.
just another Mark. So, yeah, his fight just to see Mister Knight actually fighting instead of getting just tossed
Mhm.
around, was a very enjoyable thing to see.
I'm just glad he
Um,
didn't fight like he did in the first time you see the suit.
yeah, where he's just
He's
getting
got his
tossed by
sleeves
that
rolled up.
demon. Yeah, he's just, oh god, what is going on? Oh,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's cool that they were able to get these 2 characters to just kinda mesh together. It's fluid, it's smooth between the 2 of them now. Just need more Jake.
yeah, yep. And we get him, everybody. We get him. With him, I mean, to be honest, this end credit scene is dope. It's so
It is.
cool.
It
Uh,
is.
the only way, so they learn earlier in the episode, the only way that they can stop Amit is by trapping her in a mortal's body. So Jake kind of helps out because Jake's the one who knocks out Harrow in that fight that you don't get to see, and they do some spell that traps her soul in his body. But
That
Mark
they
doesn't.
magically know the words to.
Right?
I was like, "Wait,
There's
how do you
no.
know this?"
Yeah, there's no. It's like it's because they're avatars. Like they're connected to
Yeah.
the gods. It's like an automatic thing. Like they just get in like all of that knowledge from the gods just
Yep.
like soaks into their body. So yeah, and Mark doesn't want to kill uh Harrow, and he gets released from Khonshu's as Khonshu's avatar, and Harrow is in a. Is it a mental hospital?
It's like the mental hospital that Mark and Steven were involved with in the last couple episodes, except it
Right.
was a real mental hospital.
Yeah.
It looked like it was based in London,
Yep.
just kinda like by the background later on, but I guess that was which I'm trying to figure out still how Egypt kinda like, "Hey, we're gonna ship him to London," you know? This guy's got an Egyptian god housed inside of his mind.
Yeah.
Ship him off to London.
Yeah. Perfect place.
But I think
And
that was fitting for him to be there.
yeah. Oh, most definitely. So you see that he is kind of. I mean, he's not completely gone. I mean, he knows that he's kind of.
Mhm.
He feels he's off the hook because Mark. He's like, who else is going to come after me? Like
Yep.
Mark isn't Moon Knight anymore. Layla isn't going to come after me. Uh, and you see that there's a guy that comes in, gets him, and wheels him out into a limo, and you're like, and I knew as soon as he walked up to him, like before you don't even see his face because you don't see his face
No.
until like the last shot.
Yep.
But I knew exactly who it was from the get go.
All you needed to see was the gloves, the hat, and the scarf for me,
Yep.
and I knew who it was.
And yeah, he tosses him in the back of this limo where Conchu's just hanging out in a nice suit. Like, all right, dude. Like this now he's dressing up. I think he took
Khonshu's
it.
giant, his bird
His
skull in a
giant bird
regular
skull.
human size,
Yeah,
like Mr.
awesome.
Knight suit almost.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, oh well, if Steven doesn't need this, I'll take it.
Exactly.
And is Jake from like technically like from a different? What's he speaking? Egyptian?
I think it was Spanish.
Was it?
He's originally like a New York taxi driver,
Okay.
from what I've read up on the comic. But I think, given Oscar Isaac, and they're letting him have a little freedom with the Spanish and whatnot. So I think they're transitioning him into like a Spanish taxi driver from somewhere.
Okay. Because
But he almost
yeah,
looks like a James Bond bad guy.
he does. But yeah, Khonshu pretty much, you know, talks about like, well, if Mark, when Mark decided to give this up, I knew there was one of them that was going to stay. And then he
Mm-hmm.
introduces Jake Lacey, and you're like, finally, we get to see him.
Oh yeah.
And he kills Haro.
Now you can't
And
tell me the orderly that was walking outside that car didn't see the flashes. I get
or
it's
the
a silenced pistol, but
or the wheelchair that was just kicked into the lawn. Like he just drop kicks the freaking like, oh, this doesn't look right.
well,
Excuse me.
I don't know what he said to the lady. You know how the lady walked up to Harrow right when he spilled the coffee. I don't know what he said to her, but she's like, "Oh, okay, go ahead, you can take him.
Yeah.
Go ahead."
Yeah.
I feel like that just doesn't happen.
No. It was. I mean, it was a really good end credit scene, but
Yes.
also disappointing because this was somebody we were hoping we were going to see
Mm-hmm.
earlier in the show, and the fact that we got him for 10 seconds. I mean, the way that they end it, like you got to come back. You got to come back and give us more of that character and kind of have. I mean, I don't know how it's going to go with Steven and Mark not being able to change into they're not Moon Knight anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And
But the interesting thing is they still know something's going on because they were still chained to the bed when they woke up.
right. Yeah.
So they still know something's up. So it's like, are they really free from
Right.
Khonshu? If
Exactly.
Jake is kind of the avatar in a way, the
Yeah.
right hand man. So after that, they have to, in my mind, they have to keep going with this.
Yeah, because when you first see him chained to the bed in episode 1, you think it's by the end of the episode you think that the reason he does it is because of Mark,
Right.
but then
Yep.
you find out no, this is because of Jake the whole time. Like the reason
Oh
that
yeah,
he did
even
all these
going.
precautions.
Oh yeah. Well, and even episode 1 when when Harrow sees him, and he has that little scarab compass. I don't think Mark, because you saw his hand was blood red, like he pulled it out of someone's chest, like
Yeah.
one of the bad guys swallowed the scarab. I feel like that was Jake.
Oh yeah, I mean I feel all the blackouts and then waking up and there's just dead bodies
Yeah.
everywhere. That's Jake every time.
Oh yeah. The guys on the roof with them getting stabbed, and once you start seeing Mark and Steven question each other and they don't know what's going on, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, hello Jake.
But my question is how don't the other two know about him? Like how like is it not in the
Yeah, I
same
don't.
vein where they can't see him in the reflections or because you know
That's what I've
how
been trying to figure out.
Steven would always see Mark or the opposite, like they would see a mirror and you'd always see
Oh
who's
yeah.
inside.
Hmm.
Like is Jake purposely hiding from them? So there isn't like I mean
There's
there's
got to
just
be
questions with
something.
no answers.
There's got to be something hiding, because I mean we only saw 2 fish in the tank. There's not 3 fish in the tank at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
There's only 2 goldies. So there's got to be some way that Jake is keeping that to himself still.
It's a lot of questions, and I hate that it's gonna probably be a while before we get any answers. But hey, that's the way television works.
Honestly,
Thanks.
and I'm glad that they're doing it this way with these shows, because we've already had so many Marvel movies. I don't want them turning into like Call of Duty where something's released every year. Something massive is released every year, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
No, I get what you're saying.
So, I'm glad that they're doing it this way, but there are some of these shows like Moon Knight. It's like, all right, you got to give us a little more.
Right. That's why I
We
said,
need a
like,
season 2.
give us a couple more episodes. What's with these 6-episode runs? Like, give us 8. I mean, there's more to tell here. Like, I mean, I
Oh yeah,
don't think it would have been, you know, any worse if you gave us a couple extra.
2 at least, just 2 or
That's what
3
I
maybe.
said. That's what I've been
Yeah,
saying the whole time. It's like, how are we gonna end this in an hour? And it wasn't even an hour.
it wasn't even an hour because you realistically figure how long are these the credits at the end?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So,
like that's like 5 minutes at least of credits if you don't include the post credit cutscene or the
yeah,
mid credit cutscene, I guess it would be. But it's like 10 minutes right there.
yeah.
So
Another
just give us
thing,
more.
yeah. What I mean, the last thing that I got is that watching this show, I didn't feel like I was in the MCU. I didn't feel like I was in the same world. There's no really, I mean, unless I missed something, there really wasn't any like mention of anything outside of
Right.
this that links it to the MCU. Which I'm okay with. I don't feel everything needs to be connected. I mean, we understand it's in the same universe. It's in the same world and the everything that's been going on is g- gone on in this, but yeah,
Well,
this was a show that like if they just removed Marvel Studios, I would have liked it and
mhm.
it wouldn't have felt any different to me because I didn't feel like I was part of that.
Yeah, and I think that mainly comes from the fact that I think this is the first show where we haven't had previous movie characters in it.
Yep.
Because I mean, there was Loki, Falcon Winter Soldier, WandaVision, all those characters we've seen in plenty of Marvel movies.
Yep.
I think this Moon Knight starts that trend where we don't see these characters from other movies.
Yeah.
Because you have Moon Knight, you got Miss Marvel, you're gonna have She-Hulk. She-Hulk might be a little easier because I'm sure like you'll see Mark Ruffalo
Yeah.
in that. But
Bruce
I
will be
think
there
this is
somewhere.
gonna. But I completely agree. It's like I'm watching this and I'm like, oh, this is Marvel.
That's right.
You know,
This is technically MCU, but
it is. Yeah.
it doesn't feel like it. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not complaining. I still had a good time with
No,
it.
hundred
It was
percent.
definitely, like I said before, it definitely is not my favorite Marvel show so far, but as a first like look into live action of this character,
Yep.
I think it was done fairly well. Especially bringing in the cast that they got.
And
Uh,
nothing's ever perfect on the first try.
no, I mean,
So.
look at the Mandalorian. I always throw the Mandalorian as an example because like the first season was torn apart. As a I
Hmm.
mean, even me, I found it to be good in some parts and really just like why is this here in a lot of
Yeah.
it. And then season 2 came out and it just blew us all out of the water with how good it was.
Oh yes.
So you got to. I always that's why I feel even if a show doesn't perform, if a show is literally a giant stinker, yeah, cancel it after the first season. But like if a show is slow and like some people are kind of turned off by it, give it another chance. Give it a season 2. Try to
Yep.
prove that you can stick around for a while because I feel there's a lot of shows out there that have had good first seasons and then they get canceled and you're like,
And
oh,
it
what
becomes
could have been?
unfortunate.
Yeah, what could have
Yeah.
been?
It's like there was
But
so much there.
exactly. But, yeah, we're getting let's see, Miss Marvel's the next one, right? That's
I was
in
just about to look up the list.
I think it's in June, like June 10th or June I think it's like the 1st or 2nd week of June, we're getting Miss Marvel. Um,
Let's
as of
see.
this recording, uh, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will be released, which I'm
I'm
very
really
excited to
hoping to
see
go
that.
see that. I'm
Yeah,
really hoping to go see that on like Saturday.
yeah, I'm hoping within the first week I'll be able to go see that, and we'll give you once me and Dan and Angela go see it. We're gonna do a fresh cut of it on the channel. That'll be good. Yeah, just a lot of Marvel stuff coming out
Mhm.
the rest of this year. We got Star Wars content, as you know, as of this
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
recording. As of us recording, it is May the 4th, so May the 4th be with you. I don't have a Star Wars shirt because I am not. I guess I just don't. I guess I don't like Star Wars. But yeah, we got Obi-Wan Kenobi coming out, and I just watched the newest trailer for that, and that looks just so goddamn good. Like I can't wait for it. Oh
Real
man.
real quick, according to this list, Miss Marvel's June 8th,
Okay.
and then still to be announced for this year in terms of like an actual date, She-Hulk and Secret Invasion.
Right. Okay.
So, and then we're looking 2023 and beyond.
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. You know what? I mean, we don't do rankings on this show, but I'd give this about like a, let's see, there's 6 episodes. We'll rate it out of 6. I'll give it a 4 out of 6. What about you?
I'd go around the 4.5, you know, in that ballpark somewhere.
It was good.
I,
Wasn't
it
great.
was good. The amount of action we got in this last episode was cool, but I feel like we saw. I feel like we saw Moon Knight's actual costume and combat. I think just this episode kind of equated to the rest of the season, like in terms of screen time.
Yep.
But it's a good start. I'm very happy with where it is. Give me a second season and we'll be fine.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's where we're going to end this episode of Slice of TV. It was a fun 6 weeks talking about Moon Knight. It was awesome having Static on for the last episode. Thank you again for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. We'll definitely have to bring you back on for some more Marvel, Star Wars, anything. Definitely would like to have you back. Where can people find you?
You guys can find me on a whole bunch of places: Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and Hover, all at StaticArbiter. I go live on Twitch 5 days a week. I play a bunch of stuff, and we like telling dad jokes, so it's good time. It's good time.
Jokes are the best. All his links will be down in the description, so if you didn't get all that, just go down there and click on one of them. Or all of them. I recommend all of them. We're Dissect That Film on everything. You guys know. This is, I mean, if you listen to the show, you know where we're at. We will be back. Well, this will be out on Thursday, and then on Friday will be our podcast episode where we talked about the Batman. An almost 3-hour long episode. So strap in for that one. And then we're going to be talking about episode 7 of Halo with Shoning next week. So very excited for that. But until next time, I am Brett Parker. That is Static Arbiter. This is Slice of TV, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.